Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Cade, joined by Andrew, and today we have a brand new tier list for you. Today we are going to be ranking every Star Wars movie. And for today's ranking, we are joined by a returning guest. Today we have Mika Gutierrez. Mika, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you again.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. So, to start this off, we have Star Wars A New Hope, the one that started it all. It's funny, I used to watch this all the time, and I rewatched this in prep for our tier list ranking. And I gotta say, all of these movies in the original trilogy, New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, I think it's really cool just how well all these movies have aged. You look back at it today and you might think some of the CGI is not that great, not as impressive, but I think everything about these movies really holds up well. The CGI still looks great, especially how it looked for the time. The story's still great. The acting, I think, is good still. That's probably one of my favorite things about the original trilogy.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, for me, I really like this movie, and I like one thing I love about the entire first trilogy is that it's sci-fi, but it's dirty sci-fi. The aesthetic is not overly clean and chrome. Everything's kind of dirty and broken down. That's why I love the original Blade Runner so much, and that was sort of definitely started in this movie. Was that
Oh
sort
yeah.
of grungy sci-fi aesthetic.
Yeah, and I think one of the best things about this movie and just the original trilogy as a whole is definitely just the main trio, Luke, Leia, and Han. Their dynamic, I think, is always fun. I like Mark Hamill, I like Carrie Fisher. Han Solo is obviously great. Of the three of them, did you guys ever have a favorite of the three of them? I'm curious.
100% Princess Leia.
Han Solo. It's got to be Han Solo.
I liked their not only their character dynamic, but the chemistry that you could see of them just as actors. You could see it come through the movie as well.
Absolutely. And, obviously, this is the movie that gave us the icon that is Darth Vader.
If not the best villain in film history, definitely up there.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody's father.
James Earl Jones, just the perfect voice for this character, too.
R.I.P.
Perfect voice for an intimidating bad guy.
So one thing that did annoy me when I grew up, though, was the whole way that they destroy the Death Star, to be honest. It's, just the fact that you have this little, loading bay where you could just shoot a laser and it would just destroy itself. But I kind of like how, and we'll get to this movie eventually, I like how Rogue One kind of answers that. I thought that was a clever way to tie that back to the original, which a lot of people started pointing out, like, wait, why is that what destroys the Death Star, Has it bothered you guys at all as you've gotten older, or is it something you're willing to just forgive?
I'm willing to forgive it because for me, it gives a vibe of, okay, we got this gigantic thing we're trying to take down. We can't take on head on, so we got to find these little cracks, these little chinks in the armor we can exploit. And more often than not, when it comes to stuff like that, it is the very smallest things you don't think about that turn out to be your biggest downfall.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that this was it very much was felt like when I watched it because I watched these movies when I was younger, not understanding anything and kind of like pushing it to the side and didn't become a real fan until I was in like middle school, high school. So rewatching it, I always felt like it was just a scapegoat, but then watching that Rogue One movie really did help explain a lot of like the dynamics and behind the scenes of how to take down the Death Star, how they did it. It wasn't just Princess Leia shows up one day and it's done. It was like a lot of backstory, a lot of prep, a lot more to the rebellion than we thought.
Yeah, and I will say, from a production standpoint, one of my favorite, sets has always been the set of the Millennium Falcon. That's just always such a fun set to see the actors interact with and just do everything around. Actually, I don't know if you're aware of this, but when they finished making the movie, the set for the Millennium Falcon had actually been dismantled completely.
Oh my gosh, I did not know that.
Nobody predicted that it would be as successful as it was. So when it came time to make Empire and Return of the Jedi, they had to rebuild it from pictures. So the set that we saw in the second and third movie wasn't the exact same set from the first one.
Wow, that is interesting. I always like looking at Star Wars sets. I love when I had my Disney Pass, I would go all the time and do homework in Batu, the Star Wars area, because you could just find so many cool ways that I love sets, how they use, especially for these futuristic movies, how they use jugs for not only a watering can, but like a plant pot or whatever. Just having those little tiny details of stuff that you would think is junk that that's just there. It's part of like their structure.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it was after this movie or one of the sequels, but George Lucas pulled off maybe one of the greatest heists in Hollywood history because he got exclusive merchandise rights and royalties from 20th Century Fox, and he held on to them until LucasArts was sold to Disney.
Wow.
This franchise has been a money-making machine for decades, and he got basically all of it.
Yeah.
I think he earned it.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, 100%.
he earned it, but I'm pretty sure 20th Century Fox would like to take that one back.
Yeah, probably. But now to decide our ranking. So what do you guys think? I think it should be an S tier, but if you guys think otherwise, we can put it in a different one.
I agree with the S tier. Part of me wants to put it A tier just because it is one of those older movies, but honestly, it set the stone for everything, so I feel like it should be an S tier. It would be disrespectful.
I was gonna say A just because, in my opinion, in the original trilogy, it is the weakest entry. But I think you guys have convinced me it does need to be S, just because it was the start of what became this legendary franchise.
All right, S tier it is. And now we have Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, often regarded as one of the greatest movies ever made. And, just adding on to that, do you guys agree with that statement?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was definitely that Star Wars is definitely like a stepping stone for a lot of these other futuristic movies. Like right now, my current obsession is Avatar, and I have no idea why. But rewatching the Avatar movies and rewatching the Star Wars movies together, it kind of like it obviously influenced a lot of these sci-fi movies.
And you know what's cool about it is, if not one of the greatest movies ever made, definitely, in my opinion, one of the greatest sequels of all time, for sure. Because the thing about Empire Strikes Back, it's a sequel, and this is what I appreciate. It's a sequel that doesn't completely rip off the formula of the first movie. I think that that's an issue that plagues too many sequels, but it's completely different. You have Luke training, you have Han and Leia and Chewie and C-3PO on the run from the Empire. And I think it does a good job expanding the lore as well. And one thing that's awesome about it, and we talked about this when we did our MCU ranking. We talked about this with Infinity War, how with that movie, it was fascinating to see the villain of the story win. And that's how I feel about this movie, because if you look at it, the villains in this movie basically win at the end. And I think that's something that makes it not only a unique sequel, but just a unique movie, period.
Yeah, the Rebel Alliance kind of gets dog walked in this movie. They get obliterated on Hoth. Their forces get broken up by the Empire. Darth Vader pretty handily defeats Luke Skywalker. I think we can agree. And
Han gets captured, and also the heroes are forced to run away.
yeah, again, the Rebel Alliance gets handed their lunch in this movie.
Yeah, I definitely think that this was a good one to show that the good guys don't always win. And that's something that, and for having that be like the second movie that you ever put out for this franchise is such a bold move too. Because I know that a lot of the time it's like, okay, second movie, we need to make sure that this is just as successful as the first one, or, we want to have that fan base. But I feel like George Lucas was just like, no, we got to show like this is war. This is not going to be pretty all the time. The good guys aren't always going to win, but they're going to get stronger from it.
Yeah, and I think for a trilogy, how this trilogy is set up, you kind of did need that for the second movie, because otherwise, if they just keep winning, what's the point of making a third one?
Yeah, and also, just like how the first one introduced Darth Vader, this also introduced one of my other favorite Star Wars characters, and that is the icon that is Yoda. Yoda is such an awesome character. I don't know what it is, but his voice is just it's so fucking awesome. I just always love to hear him speak. I always loved his interactions with Luke, seeing him, train Luke, all their time working together on the Dagobah system. I actually really like the scene where Luke tries to force his ship out, but he can't do it at first, and then you see Yoda just do it. Not easily, but he just does it. And Luke says, I don't believe it. And he said, that's why you failed. That, I think, is one of the best moments in the entire Star Wars saga.
Yeah, that is a pretty damn good moment. That sort of emphasizes that Yoda is a very experienced Jedi. And without even showing his backstory, you know that, oh, he is legit.
Mika, question for you. What are your thoughts on how this movie handles the relationship between Han and Leia?
I think it is so beautiful, to be honest with you, because it's showing that almost what is the dynamic of it's not necessarily enemies to lovers, but something like that. It's showing that they're having a friendship, a relationship before bringing in love necessarily.
Frenemies to lovers, basically.
Frenemies to lovers, yeah. And I love that. I think that that kind of relationship is so fun, especially to see on film, because it's one of those relationships that you kind of expected in the first movie because they were pretty flirtatious. The second movie, they're a little bit more, not aggressive, but combative with one another. And it builds off of that like friendship first.
It's that final scene of "I love you." I know.
Exactly.
It's the not hot-headed. What's the word phrase I'm looking for here? Headstrong princess and the charming rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what we have to give this movie credit for? It did give us one of the greatest plot twists in the history of cinema.
And one of the best lines in movie history.
And what I find interesting about that whole twist, did you know that to keep that plot twist hidden, most of the cast and crew actually got fake scripts while shooting the movie?
I believe it. I've never heard it, but I totally believe it.
Yeah, wasn't this fake script? The line is like in the fake script, Obi-Wan killed your father.
Yep, that's what it was in the fake script. But apparently only a few people knew about that. One of them was Mark Hamill, and according to him, the director of the movie, Erwin Kirschner, he met with Hamill and he said, "There's something I need to tell you. I know it, George Lucas knows it. I'm going to tell you so that you know it, but if it leaks, we'll know it was you."
Yeah.
And he said, "What? What is it?" He gave him the sheet with the actual line, and he was like, "It is that true? Are we really doing this?" "Yeah, but you can't tell anybody." So he had to keep that a secret for so long. And I honestly feel bad for him.
Yeah. Imagine having to hold that big of a secret.
Well, because apparently after the movie finally premiered, I guess Harrison Ford confronted him and he said, "Hey kid, you didn't fucking tell me that."
That is a very Harrison Ford sounding line.
But yeah, definitely a great movie. Yeah, I think it's up there with the greatest ever made. And with that, do we need to give this movie an S tier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, S tier it is. All right, now we have Star Wars: Return of the Jedi. Andrew, what's your opinion on this movie?
This is actually my favorite in the original trilogy. Do I think it's the best quality-wise? No, I do think as a overall movie, Empire Strikes Back is better. But this one's got the happy ending that a trilogy like this you build up to. You got Luke Skywalker's character development going from this bright-eyed kid to this experienced Jedi Knight, coming to terms with the fact that he is Darth Vader's son. You get the discovery that Princess Leia is his sister. You get the really cool battle on Endor. You get the Ewoks, which I quite like. I know a lot of people find them annoying, but
I love the Ewoks.
I quite like the Ewoks. You get the really cool final battle with the Rebels taking down the second Death Star. And then you get to the happy ending at the end with the Rebels winning and everything being happy and nothing ever happened again. We don't talk about the sequel trilogy, except I know we're going to do that in a few minutes.
What about you, Mika? What's your experience with this movie?
With this movie, so I have a funny experience with this movie. Growing up, I think I mentioned before, I only had two Star Wars movies, which was A New Hope and then number two. But I vaguely now remember I had a third one, but it wasn't this one, but it did have Ewoks. Do you guys remember the Ewok movie with the little girl living on Endor with the Ewoks, and her name was Aubrey?
Oh,
It's like one of
vaguely.
those like 80s. I had that one and I watched that religiously because my oldest sister's name is Aubrey and I loved the Ewoks. So I remember her. But this movie I didn't actually get to experience as a kid. But watching it back, I love it. I do love it. I did an Endor Leia last year in Florida. I went to Disney World and I was able to Disney bound her. And I just was rewatching this movie on the plane there, on the plane back, and I love it. It's a very comforting, almost warm movie. It's got that warm vibe to it.
Yeah, and one of the things I've always liked about this movie, I actually really like the title, Return of the Jedi, because you'd think that it would mean Luke, but actually, no, it means Anakin. And I like how Anakin fulfills, what the prophecy talked about in the prequel trilogy, because, that prophecy always said, he's going to be the one who ends the dark side, he's going to end the Sith. I mean, he does eventually do that in this movie when he gets rid of Palpatine. And so I like that Darth Vader and Anakin gets his redemption in that way. And I really like the final scene between him and Luke when Luke takes off his helmet and he says, "I have to save you." He says, "You already did." I think that that's a great final line for Darth Vader and great way to wrap up his arc, I think.
Yeah, make him not seem too much, or make it seem that these bad guys can have hope of coming back.
There is one thing though, Mika. In this, when Luke has his conversation with Leia, tells her that she's his sister, she then says, "I think I've always known." Okay, so you've always known. So that means that when you made out with Luke in Empire, you made out with your brother to make a guy that you like jealous. And Mika, I'm starting to think that maybe Leia's not that good of a person.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's one of those moments because I have a lot of friends I have a couple guy friends that are like brothers to me. Never kissed them or anything, but that feeling of like this guy is my brother. This is my bro right here. He's my homie. I maybe she felt that, but to say it just vaguely like that, like I've something I feel like I've always known, that makes it creepy. That's the part I have an issue with.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm sure somebody would really like to have that one back.
Somebody was in the writing room like, this is a sick line, and then they saw it in action. They're like, oh, never mind.
But you know what? Apart from that, I will say I think that Leia does have a really great scene in this movie where she takes out Jabba the Hutt.
Yes. Yes. I love her in that bikini. I love that bikini so much. She looks hot as hell. Dude, I love that bikini. I don't like the name of it, but I love it.
I love the fact that Carrie Fisher has kind of throughout her life sort of was more than willing to poke fun at it every time it was brought up.
Yeah. Such a shame.
But with that, does this movie also deserve an S tier ranking?
I think so.
I think so too.
I think so.
All right. Return of the Jedi gets an S tier. All right. Well, now we have the prequel trilogy, starting off with The Phantom Menace.
Ah, yes, the movie that gave the world Jar Jar Binks.
Love Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, you hear that, Andrew? She likes Jar Jar Binks.
You're going to be in the minority on that one.
That's all right. I love Jar Jar.
He's often said to be the worst thing about this movie. With that, can you understand why so many people don't like him?
Yeah. I didn't like him when I was younger because I had too many friends that were boys that would act like him, and I was annoyed as hell. And them watching Jar Jar Binks and then coming to school the next day thinking that they're in the Star Wars movie was annoying. But now I love him.
I liked it a lot as a kid, and I guess that was basically the intention. I think they even admitted later on that it was meant for kids. It was also a great way to sell more toys, which,
Oh, yeah.
of course.
Bring back the Jar Jar Binks suckers, dude.
Or that weird watch where you had to open his lips to read the time.
Yeah.
I would love to know who came up with that brilliant idea.
But I mean, there are things about this movie I do like. I really like Liam Neeson in it. I like Ewan McGregor. I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I do think that despite its faults, there are good things about it. I mean, think about this. It gives us one of the greatest lightsaber duels in the entire saga, I think.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
maybe one of John Williams' best Star Wars scores. The
Scores.
Duel of the
Yeah.
Fates. I have a love-hate relationship with this movie because I don't like the plot when you realize that it's literally just a gigantic trade dispute.
Yeah.
That's the big issue that most people have with this movie.
I don't like that. I don't like the midichlorian thing. But there's actually quite a bit that I do like about this movie, too. I like the pod racing scene on Tatooine. I like the final battle on Naboo, even if the special effects haven't aged great. They still look better than some other stuff that has aged worse. The Starfighter battle at the end of the movie, and then, of course, the three-way battle between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn versus Darth Maul. There's stuff I do like in this movie. I understand why people probably hated it when it came out, but I didn't hate this movie. There's parts of it I don't like, but it is certainly not the worst Star Wars movie in my opinion. I think it gets too much hate.
Well, and I have to say, I think it's interesting how it was supposed to be marketed more towards kids. I find it interesting that with that, they still decided to put in so many space politics.
Yeah.
It's an interesting move, I think.
I think it was one of those movies where it was like, hey, we're gonna bring this back for the younger generation. We're gonna try and bring more lore into it so that people can understand 4, 5, and 6. Let's sprinkle that on, but make it for kids. And it's like, well, I would like some of this shit explained and not have to go through all the comics and all the books and to get it explained. Because it feels they're like metachlorians. And I'm like, cool.
What are you talking about? Kids love committee meetings.
What are we going on? What's going on here?
Well, and can you help me understand something, please? I'm too stupid to figure this out. So here's the thing. How is it that the droids are more useless and disposable than the stormtroopers?
Dude, different times, man. I don't know. I have no idea.
Rewatching the original trilogy, I never realized just how useless stormtroopers were. They're such terrible shots. They're just so disposable. But then you get to this one. The droids are terrible shots, and they're even more useless than the stormtroopers.
The droids are just decoration. They're war decoration.
But so what do we want to rate Phantom Menace? At one point, like the most hated movie in this franchise.
I was honestly going to go more C tier, but I'm willing to put it in B. But what do you guys think?
I was thinking C. Again, I don't hate this movie. There's parts of it I don't like, but there are also parts of it that I really do like.
I'll settle for C.
All right, C tier it is. Well, now we have one of Andrew's least favorite Star Wars movies ever. We have Attack of the Clones.
Okay, why does this not get as much hate as Phantom Menace does?
Probably because Jar Jar is not in it as much.
Okay, that's a very good point. But we have to replace Jar Jar with not yet redeemed in the eyes of fans Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker.
To be fair, I think Hayden Christensen did his best in those movies. I think
Yeah.
it's just the material that he had to work with. Because this is one of his lines in the movie. I'd much rather dream about Padme being around her again. It's intoxicating.
This was written for the girlies. And that's why I like this movie. It was written for the girls. He was trying to be an edgy, flirtatious character, and I love it. I'm here for it. It sucks. It sucks 100%, but I think just the nostalgia, I love it. And I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl.
I'm sorry, Anakin Skywalker and Padme have zero chemistry with each other.
They really don't have any chemistry. They're like, eh.
No, you listen. We live in a real world. Come back to it.
What? I completely forgot that one.
What profound words.
Here's another thing. This is a line that it's the scene where they're going into the club after chasing the assassin, and Obi-Wan says to Anakin, "Why do I get the feeling you're going to be the death of me?" That's not the reason I hate lines like that is because they just think they're so clever with doing things like that.
Yeah, they think it was fan service of like, hey,
Hey, you know what's going to happen
you guys
eventually?
watched the other ones, right? I feel like that time of movies was very much like how much can we put in this movie that had to do with the other movie or the future movies, connect everything so that when you watch it, you're like, oh, he said that, you know? It feels like it was that time of movies, but I mean, I know that they still do it today. It just isn't as much that I've noticed. But yeah, I think it was very much trying to be fan service. And I'm sure I know watching it for the first time, I was like, oh, he said it. He does kill you.
But as much as I do not like the love story in this movie, much like Phantom Menace, there are parts I do like, mainly Christopher Lee as Count Dooku.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Lee is great in everything.
Oh
Yeah.
And if you look into the man's like backstory and his life story, he was the main character.
And you know what? He once had a really great line. And Mika, for you as an actress, I would love to get your opinion on this. He talked about being in bad movies. He said, and this is, I think, just a really great line. He said at one point, every actor makes bad movies. The trick is not being bad in them.
100%. Yeah. There are going to be lines and that is so relevant to Hayden as well, because there are going to be movies that there are lines that are just weird, or I don't like the way that it's written, but the director isn't letting you change it in any way. Because there are a couple times that I've had a line where I'm like, I don't like the way that it doesn't roll off the tongue. I don't like the way that it is. But I've had a writer and director say, well, we want it said exactly like this. So that's one line that you can play with how you say it, but it needs to be said like that. And you just have to take it with a grain of salt. And like, that's just the job. You got to bring that character to life and put 100% of your effort and your time and your imagination into this character to be able to bring it to life the way that the director and the writers and the casting have expected or seen in their imaginations for you. So you just want to do the best that you can. And yeah, it may be shit, but at least you did it. At least you did something. And it's just, practice for the next time.
Well, and here's something that I've kind of noticed about this movie. This movie brings in Boba Fett's father, Jango Fett. And here's something I would like to know from you guys. Is Jango Fett more of a badass than Boba Fett? Because think about this. I think Boba Fett gets a pretty lousy death in Return of the Jedi. You know, Han just whacks his jetpack, he flies off, crashes, and then lands in the pit. Look at Jango Fett, though. He took on Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I will give you that Django is a complete badass in this movie. But as somebody who has also seen the Mandalorian series, not the Book of Boba Fett, we're not going to include that here. But Boba Fett was a badass in the Mandalorian.
Yeah, I think that the difference between Jango and Boba is that Jango, I don't know much of his backstory, but obviously didn't grow up on it's leaving me, the clone planet, Kamino. So obviously he didn't grow up on Kamino. So he's had a lot of like life lessons, a lot of battles he's had to fight. So yeah, he's freaking badass. But Boba Fett, that's all he knows until his dad dies and he's like, revenge. And that's great motivation, sure. I love Boba Fett. Nothing against Boba Fett, but Jango Fett's pretty badass.
Well, the thing I've noticed about Attack of the Clones as I've gotten older, for both you guys, you notice how a lot of movies these days are kind of just taken over by CGI a lot of times?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Well, you know what? Look back at this movie. Look how much of it is CGI. I mean, I think the majority of it is CGI if you look back at it. And sadly, a lot of it I don't think really holds up that well.
No, it does not.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but the character Obi-Wan's friends with and goes and gets intel from. Both him and his robotic waitress do not look that great nowadays.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Or even the big showdown in the arena where Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme are fighting the three monsters. Some of it I don't think really holds up that well.
No. But the costumes? Can we get a round of applause for the costumes for a second? I love Padme's costumes. I love all of her costumes. Her costumes are so beautiful and intricate and detailed, and I love having a character that is so eccentric around characters that are basically in uniform, because that's what the Jedi are in. They're in uniform, and that's because it's the only thing that they really wear. There's nothing that they can do to really make it their own in a sense, because they're all expected to wear the same thing. So having that senator be able to be as eccentric and beautiful costumes as she is really helps give that there are people in this world who have that sense of self, have their own personal identity. I just really love her costumes though.
I think before we decide to give this movie a ranking, with this movie, just looking back at the entire original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, of all six of those original films, would you say that as a movie, this one has the weakest plot?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say so too.
It's a forced love story. It almost feels like a filler movie
That's a good way of putting it, actually.
for one and three. It's a good filler, like a Christmas special, if you will. Like there are some books that they have vignettes of. It's like the Christmas special. It's just to show, oh, these two characters are they like each other now. But it's like, dude, that's forced.
Well, with that, what are we going to give this movie for a ranking?
I was gonna say D.
I think it's more D tier. I don't think it's F. There is going to be an F tier that I need to pick down the line, but
Yeah,
I still like this movie better than what that's going to be, but I think it should be D tier.
I'm willing to give it a D, just because when the backbone of your movie is an uninteresting love story and the people involved have no chemistry, you have a bad movie.
All right, well, D tier it is. All right, and now we have a very special one because Mika, this is one of your favorite movies of all time. We have Star Wars Revenge of the Sith.
I love it. I love this one.
What is your relationship with this movie? We've talked about it before on the channel, but I'd like to hear more about it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. It really shows because the first one is showing Anakin's upbringing, right? It's more about Anakin and how he's the chosen one and becoming a Jedi, blah blah blah. Second one obviously is Anakin again with his love story. This one I think is a little bit more towards Obi-Wan. It shows that how they are, it kind of shows how they're brothers in a sense. I wish that they showed it a little bit more, but then again, that's what like Clone Wars are really for. It really shows the twist from the lens of the camera. Who do we have eyes on? We had eyes on Anakin and now he's shifting to the dark side. So we can't shift to the dark side with him. We have to have eyes on somebody who's on the light side. So we're gonna pick Obi-Wan, and I love that because it gives his character more depth. He's not just the Jedi Master. He's more than that. He's a general. He's got
Well, and just to add on to that, I think that's always been one of my favorite things about this movie because if you boil it down, I think it really is a movie about Anakin and Obi-Wan, which is what I like about it. Because in the second movie, there's a scene where they're talking about all the adventures they went on together when he was training him.
yeah,
That I think is just kind of annoying because it's tell, don't show type of
yeah,
situation. But in this, they do a great job focusing on their dynamic, the mentor-mentee dynamic. And I think the moment where Obi-Wan chops off Anakin's legs and then Obi-Wan is just shouting out, you were the chosen one, you were supposed to destroy the Sith. And then he says, you were my brother, Anakin. Both Ewan and Hayden, I think, are really great in that scene.
oh yeah,
Acting wise, I think that's definitely probably their best moment in the trilogy.
Yeah, easily.
yeah.
If I could discuss my feelings on this movie for a second, because I have some unique feelings about this movie.
Go ahead.
In my opinion, this is a great third act of a movie. The first two acts, I can kind of take them or leave them. I like General Grievous, but I feel like he should have been in the series earlier because I think he would have been a good supporting villain behind Count Dooku. But the last third of this movie needed to basically set up the original trilogy. And that's not a lot of time to do that.
Yeah.
But I feel like they did actually a pretty fair job with that. You had the birth of the twins. Now, mind you, Padme's reason for death I do find a bit plot convenient. But the birth of the twins, the establishment of Darth Vader, the destruction of the Jedi Order, they accomplish all that in a very short amount of time. Plus, they also squeeze in that massive lightsaber duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, which in my opinion is the best lightsaber duel in the series.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that I have to agree with you on it is a really good third act. What they could have done, hear me out, what they could have done is they could have chopped up half of their love story in Attack of the Clones and only showed a little bit of it and then gone into and had like General Grievous and stuff and introduced like the first portion of this movie and then went more into depth about both of their character dynamics.
That actually could have been interesting.
That could have been pretty sick.
I think Grievous would have been a really good supporting villain to have earlier in the trilogy.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of what you said about, because I just thought of it, Padme dying of a broken heart, could you see it like this? In the second movie, yes, it seems that Anakin is obsessed with Padme, but to me, the way I see it, it seems like Padme is pulling all the strings. She's got that man tied around her finger. She's the one that's deeply in love. He's infatuated with her. There's a difference between being in love and being obsessed. And I think that he's obsessed. She's in love. That's why she died of a broken heart and he's still alive. Mic drop.
Well, and apart from that, I will say, I think despite how heartbreaking it is, I think it's still done incredibly well. It's just the fall of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
When Palpatine orders, Order 66, all the clones go around wiping out all the Jedi. I mean, it's sad. Don't get me wrong. It's sad to see it all happen. But the way that I think George Lucas orchestrates the fall of the Jedi Order, I think he did it incredibly well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, one thing I need to highlight that I quite like is the montage of all of the Jedi Masters getting. I like how each one is given a different death, like how Plo Koon has his ship crash. I don't know, it just helps make it feel like just how widespread, like how the virus that is the Empire is spreading.
Yeah. It also goes to show how orchestrated the Order 66 was. There, it wasn't just a, hey, when I give you the signal, all of them are gonna die. It was like, no, you need to be strategic about it. They can't know. It's got to look like an accident so that we don't get a whole bunch of people jumping us. Got to take them out one by one.
Mm.
Well, and Miko, we brought this up when we talked about your five favorite films, but without the context of the Clone Wars TV series, we had mentioned how, with this movie, Anakin's, development into Darth Vader did feel kind of rushed for this movie
Yeah.
specifically. Do you still kind of feel that way?
Yeah, I still feel that way. I think that there could have been a little bit more. I don't know what, but I just feel there's just a feeling that there could have been a little bit more. And maybe it could have been explained a little bit better and shown that I don't want to say character development, but maybe like character decline almost into Darth Vader if we cut half of the love story. I don't know. I feel like if they put what was in Attack of the Clones when his mom got murked by the Sand People, that should have been in Revenge of the Sith.
Absolutely. But with that being said, we still get one of my favorite moments in the entire saga, and that is just the birth of Darth Vader. When they're tearing all the burn clothes off and then they put his Darth Vader uniform on, you get the helmet put on, you get the incredible music. That to me is definitely one of the best moments, not just in the movie, but just Star Wars, period.
Yeah.
That is he's more machine now than man.
Well, with that, Mika and Andrew, what are we going to give Revenge of the Sith for a rating?
I think A.
A. I'll give it a.
Yeah, I'm willing to give it an A. I know that you'd probably prefer S tier, right?
Yeah. Personally, I would prefer S tier, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's an A.
All right, A it is. And now we have a really special one, in my opinion. We have Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the movie. So I'll be honest, when I first saw this movie back when it was out when I was a kid, at first I wasn't too sure about it because I thought, I don't know, I mean, I was kind of ready for Star Wars to be done, but realizing that this was going to be before third movie, I was open to it. And I gotta say, I think that this could be one of the best Star Wars movies, period.
I would say best animated Star Wars movie.
Yeah,
I wish it was live action.
I wish it was live action too, Mika. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. Yeah. If it was live action, 10 out of 10, nothing to complain about. I would probably make it my favorite. I don't remember it as well, but I know like growing up, I had friends who watched the Clone Wars series religiously, more religiously than me, and I still liked it. I still was enjoying it. I could still get on with it, but I don't know. I don't know. I just wish that this stuff was explained in the movies and not a series or a side movie to have to explain it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, one thing I've always enjoyed about this movie is the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because that was something that I was kind of divided on when I was first going to see the movie. I thought, I don't know about Anakin having a Padawan. but I think the two of them play off each other really well. I love the mentor-mentee dynamic, and I think Ahsoka's a really fun character as well. I think Ventress is actually handled really well in this movie, as well as in the entire saga of, the Clone Wars show.
Yeah.
But one thing I do love about this movie, as well as the TV show that it's connected to, is how it expands on the rivalry between Anakin and Dooku. That to me has always been one of the best parts.
Yeah.
What about you, Andrew? What's your opinion on this movie?
Weirdly, I don't have too much because I think I've seen this movie precisely once, and I think I was like 12, so I really don't have too much to say on it. I remember enjoying it, but I don't really remember the details, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So I think this should be a you and Mika kind of
I
spirit
would put it an
conversation.
A or B.
I'm willing to give it a B tier if that works
If it was
better.
live action, I would put it as an S tier.
Absolutely. I will say the one big thing I've always been mixed on with this movie is Jabba having a son.
And then it's never explained in any of the other movies. It's just there.
When did that happen?
Yeah. Oh, doesn't he get a small cameo in the first Star Wars in the pod racing? Isn't he technically there? He's not announced. Watching in the stands?
Maybe?
Like I didn't know I don't know for sure if it's him, but I know that there's two people from the Hutt clan that are watching the pod racing, and there's a smaller one. And I think that maybe on the internet somewhere I read, so I could be wrong. Don't dox me in the comments. But I think that it's supposed to be Jabba's son, but it's not really explained, and you don't know that Jabba has a son until Clone Wars.
Is that going to be the buff hut that's going to be in The Mandalorian and Grogu that the internet's going
Oh
crazy for?
God. I'm so excited for the movie because I have some friends who are in it, part of the 501st. So one guy, one of my best friends. He's a guy in it, and he's in the trailer. You can see his face and everything. He's cool, but I don't know how to feel about it. I feel like it's gonna be rushed.
Well, with that, we will give Star Wars The Clone Wars, the movie, a B tier. And now we have Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Oh, you mean A New Hope too?
Yes,
Honestly, yeah.
Literally, like the story beats are almost identical.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
despite that, that obvious issue that we have, Mika, what's your relationship with this movie?
Love it. When it came out, I was in between. I didn't ever not like Star Wars, but there was a huge part of my life where I wasn't into it. And I didn't understand it, didn't cosplay it, wasn't going to the movies to see it. And it was when this one came out, and I was really mad because it was right after it got released on DVD and stuff that I had watched it, and I was like, frick, I wish that I saw that in theater. I really wish I saw that in theater. It was a turning stone for me. I was so excited to have female Jedi for a movie. And Brunette signed me up. Cosplayer, hello. Heck yeah. Love Rey. I love Rey so much. And this is such a good movie. Again, yeah, A New Hope 2, basically. But I like it a lot.
I'm not a fan of how Han Solo dies in this movie.
Oh no, I'm not a fan either.
No. Talk about the most underwhelming death for one of the most beloved movie characters of all time.
Right?
I was wondering if he was going to die in this movie. The first time I saw it, I thought, I think Han's probably going to die in this, but I just hope they give him a good death. He goes out fighting,
Yeah.
and we kind of just got, no, not kind of, we got the complete opposite of that.
We got a betrayal moment.
I felt cheated.
Yeah, 100%. We were cheated. I think that he would have looked so cool in obviously not dying with, I don't know. Part of me is like, I wish that he went out in an explosion with the Millennium Falcon. But then the other part of me is like, I really want the Millennium Falcon to stay because it's such a huge Star Wars symbol. So how else does he go out? Oh, maybe he takes over like an X-Wing or one of those little TIE fighters or something like that. That would have been sick, but no, they did this bullshit to us.
I don't mind the fact that it was a betrayal from Kylo killing his father. I
Yeah.
feel like that cements Kylo as a villain. But my God, that was a very underwhelming death.
Yeah.
I will say this though, despite that, I do love the moment where him and Chewie find the Millennium Falcon. When Finn and Rey discover it, they're floating around and then they pick it up. I love the moment where Han walks on board and he says, Chewie, we're home. That to me brought back a lot of memories.
Oh yeah, nostalgia.
Yeah, so that was definitely a fun moment. And I don't know if this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I actually do like that Luke is such a mystery to us throughout this movie. Where it goes, I'll talk about later, but for the most part, I like the way that Luke doesn't fully appear until the end of the movie. I like the way that we don't really know what happened to him through most of the runtime.
Yeah.
He's the treasure at the end of the quest, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. But I did like that side of the story, and yes, it is basically just New Hope 2, second version of that movie. But Overall, I think it's a good watch, I think. You can still watch it whether you're a Star Wars fan or not.
I just was gonna say, I think it definitely is one of those that the prequels were trying to do for different generations, just bring the new generation into Star Wars. And I think that the 7, 8, 9 really that's what they were trying to do, especially in 7.
Well, and despite all my issues with the sequel trilogy, there is one thing that I do want to highlight. Adam Driver. I do have my issues with the character of Kylo Ren, and I know most people do, but I always enjoyed Adam Driver. I might be a little biased because I just really like him as an actor in general, but I do think that throughout the whole trilogy, what I do like is that he never phones it in. He's always giving it his all, and I really appreciate that. And I think that he did bring a lot of life to the character.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoy Adam Driver as an actor. I think he gives Kylo socks. I think some of his later decisions and character motivations aren't great, but we'll talk about that later. I need to complain, though, for a second, about Kylo Ren's costume. When Kylo has his hood up with his mask on, it looks great. It clearly inspired by Darth Vader, but it's not copying Darth Vader.
Yeah.
However, when he has the hood off and the mask on, he looks ridiculous.
He looks very tiny.
It looks like somebody put Darth Vader in the dryer too long.
Yeah. I have personal bias with this costume. I really like it just because for work, I sometimes play Kylo Ren and Rey for kids' parties. So I'll go in dressed up as Kylo, fight the kids, and then come back or go out, get dressed as Rey, and then go face paint. Kylo's costume is the most comfortable. You can see peripherals and you can hear way better than Vader's costume. So that's why I like it a little bit more because there's more flexibility to it because Vader was just so rigid. But then again, that's their characters, That's the basis, that's the structure of their entire lives.
And I will say, I think Kylo probably has one of the most badass lightsabers.
Oh God, with the cross hilt, yeah. One issue I have to bring up with this movie that's not Kylo Ren's costume. Becomes more of an issue in 8 and 9, but I never quite got why Rey and Kylo had that Force connection because they're not related. It's not like Luke and Leia, they're direct siblings.
I was hoping so much after watching The Force Awakens, I was hoping so much that Rey was a descendant of Obi-Wan's. Somehow, some way, somehow, some way. Because then that dynamic of like butting heads makes sense.
Well, with that, what should we give Force Awakens for a score?
A.
I don't know. Andrew, what do you think?
It really is just New Hope again, but New Hope's also a good movie.
I'm willing to put it in B.
I'm willing to give it B because at this point I also did like Poe Dameron and Finn in this movie. We didn't really talk about them, but this was them at their best. So yeah, I feel like B is a good fit. It's not terrible by any means. It's very familiar.
B tier it is. All right, well, now we have Rogue One.
AKA the best thing Star Wars has produced in the last 15 years.
This one I liked it because it did help explain a lot of backstory for A New Hope. And then you know me with my brunette main character females. I love them. That I don't have to wear a wig. It's a great time. I actually cosplayed Jyn Erso undercover with the stormtrooper, the shadow trooper armor on for con. I think it was LA Comic-Con one year. That was fun.
I will say that I think one of the standouts in this movie in terms of the cast is definitely Donnie Yen. I think he's probably the most badass actor in the movie.
Which is weird because I've seen Donnie Yen in other things and he's a terrible actor. So why is he so weirdly good in this? But I think the reason I love this movie so much is two reasons. Number one, it has really nothing to do with the Skywalker saga. It is a standalone Star Wars story. It fills in a story that we hadn't explored before. Obviously, we knew that, Princess Leia ends up with the Death Star plans. I like the fact that it feels like, this is like the Rebel Alliance, like the Black Ops kind of story. Like this is the Secret Commandos. It's like this is something that would be buried deep in a file somewhere.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things about this movie is honestly Darth Vader. They did a great job making him just menacing again, which I really appreciated. It was awesome to have James Earl Jones back again. And that whole sequence in the hallway with all the lights out and he's just chopping everybody down. Perfect.
Yeah.
They made Darth Vader cool again.
Yeah, they really played into because I think in the 4, 5, and 6, it was very much, yeah, Darth Vader's scary, but he's soft now. Like, okay, that's cool, whatever. This is showing, it really shows like he was terrifying. He was a bad, bad guy. It's not just, oh, he was a bad guy for a little bit and then, oh, he's good now. No, he was a bad, really bad guy.
And also, I got to give credit for Gareth Edwards, the director, having the balls to do that ending.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where these characters that you've, grown to really like in this movie, none of them make it out of it.
No. And I think that ties back to episode 5, where it was like the good guys aren't always going to win, but what they do still impacts the Rebel Alliance.
However, I do think the CGI recreation of Carrie Fisher isn't great.
Yeah, that could have used a little more time in the oven.
It's a little creepy.
But despite that, I did enjoy this movie a lot. What are we going to give this movie for a rating?
I think
A.
this is an A. I really, really like this movie. When I first heard they were doing a spinoff, I'm like, okay, how are they going to do this? And then I heard it was Gareth Edwards, which is a very hit and miss director for me. And then it came out, and I'm like, because I remember seeing it on the first day with my grandfather, and we both thoroughly enjoyed it. It's like, that's a really damn good movie.
I think, yeah, I'm willing to give it an A tier.
Yeah.
All right. A tier it is. Now we have Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Oh, you're reading Twitter's favorite movie?
Hmm.
Oh, God. It's so bad.
I never want to watch this movie ever again.
Yeah. I don't like this movie. Don't hate it because it was the very first Star Wars film I saw in theater. And I thought it was really cool. But storyline, like, fuck it. I don't like it. I don't like it. Storyline, hate it. Absolutely hate it.
I was so mad. I was so mad when the ending of Force Awakens, when Rey shows up, hands him his lightsaber, and then you open in this, takes it, tosses it over his shoulder like garbage. Like, I heard a lot of bad things about this movie going into it, but I was still going in like, okay, I'm open for the best. I'm gonna try to get the best out of it. And I'm not joking. This might be one of the most miserable theater experiences that I've ever had. Andrew?
I have never face-palmed watching a movie in theaters as much as I face-palmed watching this. My God, there was so much I hated about this movie.
Yeah.
Tip of the iceberg. Let's talk about maybe the worst character in Star Wars history, Admiral Hodo. You are maybe one of the most incompetent military leaders I have ever seen in any cinema, TV show, novel, ever.
Yeah.
And also the whole side story, if you want to call it that, with Finn and Rose and the casino.
Oh, we're gonna pay to get Benicio del Toro and then make him give the weirdest, most bored-looking performance of the man's entire career.
I liked seeing rich people in Star Wars because you don't see a lot of, you see royalty, but you don't see just like rich, regular is not like a good, yeah. I was gonna say like regular is not a good word to put with regular rich people. I like exploring when it comes to worlds. I love exploring the little like niche things because obviously when you're watching a movie, it's only going to show you from maybe one or two perspectives. So having another movie, seeing all these other planets, stuff like that, cool. What does Rose even do?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I found her very annoying. I found her very whiny.
I thought it was a cute idea, but then at the end of it, I'm like, what is she? Why was she? The ring thing, that was kind of cool, but that's so easy to get caught over.
Can I complain about Captain Phasma for a second?
Go ahead.
Okay. I like Gwendolyn Christie. She's a very good actress. I loved her turn as Lucifer Morningstar in The Sandman. But oh my God, they wanted to make Captain Phasma. Apparently, they wanted to make Captain Phasma the new trilogy's Boba Fett. But part of what made Boba Fett so cool was he didn't really talk that much. Captain Phasma is a chatterbox.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, it's a chrome stormtrooper. Fascinating. You gotta give them something interesting to do.
And also, I gotta tell you, I never thought that Star Wars could make me dislike Luke Skywalker.
Oh God, shall we talk about old curmudgeon Luke Skywalker?
Oh my God. I've always liked Luke in the original trilogy. Here, I was excited for Rey to finally meet him to see how his story would progress, and I was so freaking disappointed. Like, oh no, it's time for the Jedi to end. No, I can't train you. I was so, oh my God.
Yeah. Also, costume sucked.
Yeah, the costume looked weirdly cheap.
And to add insult to injury, they even, in my opinion, screwed up his reunion with Yoda.
Yeah.
That felt so unearned, so unsatisfying. I didn't care that Yoda was back.
Like, what the heck are you doing there, dude?
Yeah. Oh, you're here. Whatever. Okay, fine. Might as well.
Yeah.
I did not like Luke in this movie. I did like his final reunion with Leia.
Even though he's not really there.
Even though he's not really there, it is a force ghost, which then makes you wonder how can he have any kind of corporeal being, which is a very big plot hole. Because yes, force ghosts were a thing, but we never really saw them interact with physical objects. But there is one thing, one truly amazing, perfect thing this movie did give the world. The Porgs, the little bunny rabbit, penguin, seagull things.
Yeah.
If this movie had been just 2.5 hours of Porgs doing things, I would have enjoyed this a million times more.
Yeah, I think that the porgs were extremely clever idea because it was used to cover up puffins, like the actual puffins that were native on the island. So to have the porgs, one, so creative, two, money maker for merchandise, especially with children. I have at least 2 to maybe 3 porgs in my house right now. Yeah, you got me. I'm there with you. I would have liked to see more. And the fact that Chewie didn't eat them after watching them, Chewie's a real one.
You know what's one brief scene in this movie that shouldn't annoy me as much as it does, but it does? Maybe you guys can help me understand this. What was the point of that whole scene with Luke milking that giant alien creature?
I think it was just to show where blue milk comes from.
It wasn't blue, though. It's green.
Oh, yeah, no, it is green. Never mind.
I think they just had puppeteers on the payroll and they needed to give them something to do.
Maybe to try and show that how he was surviving?
I would have just accepted that he fishes.
Or like grows his own vegetables or something.
Yeah, just when I saw that scene, him just milking it, drinking the green milk,
Yeah.
right from there, I thought, why? For what purpose?
The look on Mark Hamill's face after he does that is, I said yes to this script.
Yeah. Mika, it's fine if you don't hate this movie, but I can't take it out of F tier.
Oh, no, I hate it. No, I hate it. I hate the movie. I hate it. I just liked it because it was the first Star Wars movie I'd seen in theaters.
Andrew, do you have any issue leaving this in F tier?
No, this is the bottom of the barrel, and yet we're about to punch through the barrel.
Yep. Well, with that, we're now moving on to Solo. And Andrew, actually, I know that you enjoy this movie quite a bit, actually.
I don't like it as much as Rogue One, but I did enjoy this movie. I like how it's an intergalactic heist flick. I really like the first meeting between Chewie and Han Solo.
Feed him to the beast. I really liked that moment.
Yeah.
I had no expectation that that was going to be Chewbacca. And then when you found out it was, oh, wow, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I loved the Darth Maul cameo at the end, which apparently was supposed to lead into a Darth Maul solo movie, but that didn't end up happening because this movie was not super successful at the box office.
I wish it was a little bit more because it was not a bad movie. It was pretty badass.
No, I thought the special effects were pretty good. I really liked seeing, I love seeing Woody Harrelson in a Star Wars movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And obviously the best part of the movie, Donald Glover as a young Lando Calrissian. Talk about perfect casting.
Yeah. I love that it showed more of the dynamic between Chewie and Han because their dynamic is already perfection. So being able to see that backstory and see like that he owes him his life thing and like they're partners now, like they're stuck together and why that is so amazing to have. I do love the special effects that they used. I wish that I don't know, I wish that it was released sooner, but then we wouldn't have the same special effects, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like the only thing I didn't like was that like Raider troop they had as the minor villains. What was it called?
Mm,
Infus Nest or something like that.
yeah.
You know what's one thing that really makes me happy is that Harrison Ford, when the movie came out, he actually saw the movie twice and he absolutely adored it. And if you can please the original actor, then I think you've done your job. I don't love it, but I do think it is a solid entry in the saga as a whole. I don't know if I'd give it a C tier. I'm willing to give it a B tier. What do you guys think?
I was gonna say C or B just because it is a really good backstory, but it's one of those movies that I think I watched twice and I don't ever see myself like, oh my God, I need to watch Solo again today.
I think B is a good spot for it. I remember when it came out, people were hating on it, like, "Oh, this is the worst thing to happen to Star Wars." Oh, you sweet summer child, we have such new lows to sink to
Right?
Well,
because we're not at peak Kathleen Kennedy yet, but we're about to be.
with that, we have the final movie, and that is Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I like this
Oh.
movie because I got to take my dog when she was training to be my emotional support slash service animal. And she dressed up as Yoda. And I had her in a little sling and she was asleep the entire time. But anytime a TIE fighter went across the screen, she like would follow it and then she'd go back to sleep. There's cool action. I love Rey's costume. I'm a costume girly. You guys all know this. I love that we got to see Carrie Fisher on screen one last time, even if it was a little bit of a CGI there. It still was technically her. We got to see her daughter, Billy.
Who, by the way, Billy Lord is such her mother.
Oh, 100%. 100% Carrie Fisher. Like 100%. The attitude, the facial expressions, 100% her mother.
And, here's the thing, Mika. I mentioned to you, I'm a guy who usually hates retcons in general, whether it's sequels or prequels, but I kind of wasn't too unhappy with it with this movie. And don't get me wrong, I still don't like this movie overall, okay? But what I do like about it is this movie basically goes, you know what? What if we just retcon all the dumb shit in Last Jedi, basically?
Yeah, I love that part of it. I think that they did it as well as they could. They did with what they had. They did it beautifully. They could have left out the little Kylo and Rey love story, in my opinion. As much as the fangirls want it, don't rip me up in the comments. I wanted it too. I just didn't want to see it. It's one of those things that I'd rather read fanfic about or have like those edits on TikTok or see those artists draw, not with AI, but draw fan art of them. I'm 100% for it. But for it to happen on screen, I was like, ugh, it's not what I wanted.
It's so undercooked. They have such weird.
They don't have, there's the chemistry that they have is not like a relationship or like attraction.
Yeah, no, it's so underdeveloped. And then we have Kylo Ben's, in my opinion, really unearned face turn in this movie.
Yeah.
Him like, oh, rebelling against the Knights of Ren. You didn't spend any time establishing the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
They literally just show up. Do they even have any lines?
And what's with the whole healing properties? Like they never explain. I know that backstory because I talked to my boss about it because he's read all the books. He knows all that shit. He could pull it out of his brain. But I know that it is a thing, but it's a rare thing. So why are they bringing it into a Star Wars film without expressing that it is a rare thing that happens, that not every Jedi can do it, and then all of a sudden she can do it, and it alludes that Kylo is on the same level as she is. And the whole, okay, cinematically, gorgeous when they traded lightsabers, when she put it behind her back and then he grabbed it. Gorgeous, beautiful. I got goosebumps. I was like, yes, yes, amazing. But then when I watched it the second time, I was like, when did they practice that?
Yeah, and also, this movie has one of Andrew's favorite lines of all time. Somehow, Palpatine returned.
Oh my God. Where do I begin? So you were talking a couple minutes ago how they sort of retconned all the stupidity of Last Jedi, but you had no better way of explaining how the big bad from the original trilogy is back after all of these decades, all of these years, both in real life and in universe, than somehow. That is script writing 101. You give a fucking reason.
Well, we kind of do get a reason, but it's never shown in the movie. We find out that Palpatine is a clone.
Just go with that. Say he's a clone. Or like they uploaded his consciousness into an AI, and that sounds like something that would fit in the Star Wars universe. Give us a fucking reason. Also, can we talk about how General Hux is revealed to be a traitor in this to the Empire, and they give him the flimsiest of reasons, which is, I'm not the favorite anymore.
I thought that was hilarious.
That was hilarious, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Well, despite that, there are a lot of things in this movie that are not hilarious, though. One of them being the scene with the dagger.
Yeah. And I think I said it to you guys before, but that's an Indiana Jones move.
Yeah.
That's not Star Wars.
No.
No Sith would. How would a Sith know that you're gonna stand at this exact spot of a wreckage?
I have a good answer, Mika.
Okay.
Because the script said so.
That's bullshit. That's stupid. I don't like it.
But also, you know what? Another scene that annoys me. We think that Chewie died in that ship. Oh, no, you know what? He was in another ship.
That one pissed me off. Looking back, I kind of giggle. I'm like, okay, you got me there.
And also the scene where, we think that C-3PO is going to lose all his memories. Then it's like, oh, you know what? He has a backup disc. Then why?
Why bother at that point?
You would think that R2 would keep that on him at all times.
Yeah. What was the freaking point of that? Why was that even in the movie?
It was like they were baiting us into getting scared that somebody's going to die. And then nobody important died in that one. Did anybody important die?
Leia passed away in that one.
Leia. But that one we all knew was coming because Carrie had passed away. R.I.P.
Yes.
Well, and also Kylo Ren dies, but I kind of figured that was going to happen.
Whatever. I don't even remember he died in that one.
Now, can we talk about maybe the scene I hate the most in this movie? Because the line I hate most is somehow Palpatine returned. The scene I hate most is the ending scene. Now, John Bailey of Honest Trailers, epic voice guy fame, put it best. Why are we taking Luke's lightsaber back to the homestead that he spent years wanting to escape from?
Why are you putting it in the sand, dude? Save it for your Padawan.
Take it to Endor. Take it to the planet he was living on.
Throw it in the swamps of Dagobah. Like,
And you know what? I thought the ending of Last Jedi was stupid when the kid sees the ships and then he just grabs the broom and pretends that it's a lightsaber.
I forgot that was a thing. Wow.
yeah. Well, who's that kid? Bring him back. Why aren't we doing a story about that kid? He's got the Force. He's not getting caught. Why put that in there? Just, oh, the Force is still alive. Yeah, we know the Force is still alive.
Or you know what? The Force is with everybody.
Ugh, God, nobody's special anymore.
Well, and you know what? I can't remember if it was J.J. Abrams or someone else, but someone confirmed that even when they started Force Awakens, unlike George Lucas, with this trilogy, they actually didn't have a full plan from the very beginning.
Oh, you could tell.
And I'm just going to say right there, mistake. Huge mistake.
Yeah.
It's okay if you decide to alter the story a little bit as you go along, like if you have a better idea, but you should at least have,
The basis.
yeah, at least it's not worse than Last Jedi. That's all I'll say.
No, it's not worse than Last Jedi, but that's a bit
Yeah.
like saying, "Oh, I was shot." And then I went to the hospital and I got out of the hospital and I was stabbed. And I'm like, well, at least I wasn't shot again.
But with that, what are we going to give Rise of Skywalker for a ranking?
I was gonna say like D or C because it had some redeeming qualities.
I think it's more D tier.
Yeah.
All right, D. Yeah, because I didn't like it, but I hated Last Jedi more. So
Yeah.
All right, D tier it is. All right, guys. Well, that is our ranking of all the Star Wars movies. Thank you again for joining us. This was a lot of fun. Mika, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. This was so much fun. I love doing this.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you again for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you all again very soon.